Okay, part two. All right, so I'm going to speed it up a little bit. I started off the conversation with Sonos and kind of got into Wi-Fi networking. So to add it, I'm going to go back to talk a little bit about Sonos in the conversation with this particular client. So a couple things. One, Sonos is a wonderful product. Sonos has been around for several years. We started using Sonos, really started using Sonos about 5 years ago. And I've seen Sonos do some amazing things. The biggest reason we started using them is because I allowed them to go several years in the industry to work out kinks. They started off as a technology company. They still are a technology company. And the platform, which they were selling, was streaming music. So they came up with hey, we want one place, kind of like Facebook. We want one place that everybody can congregate and talk. Well, they did that with music. So it's Pandora, Spotify, Audible, AM/FM radio. I can pick up radio stations in Costa Rica, where my mother's from, and not just Costa Rica. I can go to San Jose, Costa Rica, and listen to some local radio there. So it's really cool, and this is different than Apple. So people go, oh, well, I got Apple, and I listen to my music in Apple. Well, you can, like YouTube and videos, which is a great way to listen to music. Apple is a video streaming device, not a music streaming device. Two different things. Sonos doesn't stream video, they stream audio, and they do an exceptionally great job of it. In fact, they are our preferred company that we use outside of now Savant. Savant came out with a great platform and has followed suit with Sonos. The only difference is Sonos is a music streaming company. Savant is a automation company that came in and created a music streaming device, its power device, to not compete against Sonos, but to create an advantageous solution that falls along their platform that allows you to integrate everything. Two big different things. I got my pup here. She's wanting to say hello. Yay. So, there she is. Look, there's Roxy. We're sitting in a park. That way she can be outside. Yay. So, what was I saying? Sonos. So, Sonos is really great product. They have done a yeoman's job of going from a technology company to really, over the past couple of years, stepping it up. Their music, the actual quality of sound that's coming out of their sound bars and actual individual Play 5s and Sonos 1s they've done a great job. So if I was going to integrate both the technology and the sound quality, put them into one company, this is why we use Sonos a lot. Now, other companies like Harmony, Logitech, Alexa, Google, have all started to integrate with Sonos and vice versa. So Sonos One has Alexa built into it, so I don't have to buy an Alexa puck. I can just buy a Sonos One that has Alexa built into it, and so there I can say, hey, all lights turn on. So for example, if I have Lutron Caseta lights or Raw Select, then I can tell those lights in a particular room to turn on, or I can create a scene. So this is all great and cool concept, because that's where technology has been heading for a while. Now, how do we make them all play? I try to tell people, hey, listen, it's great, but let's not put in 40 lighting devices in your house and assume that you want to create a control for every one of those light switches. That's not efficient, because now you're going to have to remember 40 commands. So let's stick with a handful of commands, like good night and certain lights in a particular room, turn off, maybe the TV turns on, whatever good night means to you. We create a scene with that, and therefore you can say, hey, Alexa, good morning, good night, or turn off living room TV, and certain things happen. Those are scenes, and it's easier to have 5 to 7 scenes that you can remember versus trying to control every single little fixture and or light. It gets way too cumbersome, way too crazy. And also, we have to make sure that there is great internet in the house, great Wi-Fi in your house, and assuming all of it is talking to one another, man, you can have a really, really, really cool system. And that kind of gets us into the fun part of, say, Sonos and all these other little devices. So going back to Sonos has done, like I said, a great job in augmenting their audio speakers and the quality of it. They have even done such a great job in connecting with companies like Pioneer and Onkyo and Integra, which, by the way, they're all the same company. They're all fall under one umbrella. But the neat thing about what I mean by connecting with them is they've actually been able to integrate with those companies from a software standpoint that removes a 2-step process which they used to have. What do I mean by 2-step process? Okay, so Sonos has a product, we'll call it the Sonos Arc or Sonos soundbar. So that is a physical soundbar that's powered. You plug it into the wall. It's got an Ethernet port, so hopefully you're plugging it into the wall directly to your router or a switch, and you're streaming, and it has the software built into it and an amplifier. So it's an all-in-one unit, and all you're doing is grabbing an auxiliary cable, and you're plugging it into the audio out of your TV. It's a digital audio out on the back of most, if not all, current TVs now, and it's an optical cable. So digital optical out or Toslink cable, and then it goes into a digital input Toslink into your Sonos soundbar, and now whatever you're playing on your TV, you get audio that plays through that soundbar, and that audio goes direct. Okay. The other cool thing is that I can be watching TV and then grab my phone and switch it to music. Okay. Awesome. If I'm in a living room and I choose to make it a 5.1, which is 3 front speakers, 2 rear speakers, and a sub, you have to now have a hardwired connection. So Ethernet line, internet line via Cat 5e or 6 goes into the soundbar, the Sonos soundbar or Sonos Arc. Sonos Arc is their new product, and it has to physically be connected to a router, and you have to have a Sonos amplifier directly connected to the internet as well, and that is hardwired to actual either in-wall or in-ceiling speakers, or you can have 2 Sonos 1s in the back or a set of Play 5s in the back, and that gives us the surround sound. And again, if you have an Ethernet line that goes to your subwoofer, now everything is hardwired in it, and it's now talking in the programming aspect of it. So what's the difference between a Sonos amp and a Sonos One? A Sonos amp has for those who may understand what an amplifier is, or an AVR. An AVR is a receiver. It's a receiver that plays surround sound, so 5.1, it's 5 speakers and a sub and up. A amplifier is just a 2-channel, which is stereo, and it is just power. It doesn't really have that much smartness in it. So Sonos came out with an amplifier that does have their software built into it, and it has 125 watts of power to it per channel that go to the speakers. So if I have 2 in-wall or 2 in-ceiling speakers or a pair of bookshelf speakers, I can now run speaker lines to those, and I don't have to now buy a smart device and an amplifier. It's all built into one product. Boom, I can get that as a pair of speakers in a room. That same setup can be used to hook up surround sound in a living room. Now here's the thing. It has to be hardwired at some point. It doesn't work well when it's on Wi-Fi because it doesn't allow you to really set it up. So you have to actually physically hardwire the amp and the sound bar either directly to each other or directly to a router in order to set it up. Otherwise, you'll never be able to set it up. And then if you can hardwire the sub, now it's even better because now it's all hardwired. So this is the importance of hardwiring your Sonos. So back to the Wi-Fi. Yes, it is a Wi-Fi system, but because of the way their requirements are for setting it up, you have to still hardwire it to the internet. I know, puppy. She wants some love. So that took out the whole Wi-Fi, the whole wireless. And guess what? If you don't have any cabling in your house, jack that up too. Can you still do some play ones? Yep, you can still do that. But again, maybe you just don't want play ones on your wall. Maybe you actually just do want some recessed speakers. So that's how their technology is working today. Sonos Arc, they have is their new sound bar, and it replaced their original sound bar. It sounds tremendously better. It's smaller, it's sleeker, it's got a cooler design. Big problem though, it's been on back order for COVID for God knows how long, and it trickles in. I am direct with Sonos, and I've been waiting for Sonos Arcs for 4 months now. I can get them faster than Best Buy, I can get them faster than, I'm not saying that they don't have them, I'm simply saying I'm direct, and so I'm kind of in line. I get them faster than my distributors, not saying my distributors don't get them. I'm simply saying everybody's on a waiting list, and I get them as fast as everybody else gets them. It's a big problem, and it's just not the only problem they have. They're back ordered on Sonos amps, Sonos Arcs, and Sonos ports. So that's kind of the traditional system on a 5.1 surround sound for Sonos. For if you're just using Sonos, I was talking a little bit before on how they integrate with a company like Integra and Onkyo. So those are traditional AVRs. So it's you're physically using a stereo receiver that does video switching. So you would go in and say, hey, I got my cable box in one, I got an Apple TV in another, I got a gaming device in another, and for those who still use Blu-ray players, I got that all hooked up via an HDMI. You have an HDMI cable that goes to your TV, and then you physically hardwired in-wall or in-ceiling speakers or bookshelf speakers, minimum of 5 speakers and then 1 sub. And if it's in a theater room, maybe you have 7 or 9 or 13 or more speakers. And so that's what an AVR does. You got all these physically hardwired speakers via speaker cable, and then it does video switching, and it's a smart device. It's got technology built into it. My dog is sneezing. So all right, so how does Sonos connect? So Sonos had a product called a Connect. Now it's called a Port. So the Connect, or now Port, is like a CD player. It has an RCA cables that plug into an audio port into the back of that AVR receiver, okay? And it doesn't matter if it's 5.1. And let's just say I plug it into the CD input on the back of it. I would go on the front of my AVR and I'd put it on input CD, if that's the one. And that device now is a streaming device. And so instead of it being a CD player that you put CDs into it, it's streaming all that content from, again, Pandora, Spotify, Audible, etc., etc., etc. So before, let's just say if I have a Yamaha receiver or a Denon or other, we would have a 2-step process. I would get on my phone and I would say living room. I would turn the Sonos on the living room, and then I would have to grab my remote control and put it on CD, and then I would get the audio kicking on, and then it's ultimately using the AVR receiver as its power. So the more power I gave that AVR, the more I actually physically got out of my Sonos Connect. So unlike a Sonos 1 or a soundbar or a Sonos 5, where the power is built into that piece of equipment, I'm now using an external amplifier and having to control that. So it created this two-step process. They came out and worked out a technology deal with Integra and others, Integra, Pioneer, Onkyo, whereby their software talks to one another. And now, if I'm on my Sonos app and I click on living room, instead of me having to do a two-step process, it will automatically turn on that AVR and switch it to port CD and put it at a volume level that I preset within the system. Very freaking cool, because now I can actually now control all my rooms via the phone app that I have, or if it's an iPad app or the computer app, it automatically does it off the touch of a button. Spectacular, brilliant on the way they've done it. Absolutely love it. Now, it's worked great. We recently had a client that we had 4 Integras, big boy Integras, and 4 Sonos ports. And their latest firmware, as Sonos' latest firmware, would no longer allow us to talk to the Integras and vice versa. Now, guess what happened? We talked to both of their technical support, and guess what all technical support people do and engineers do to solve their problems. It's not our fault, it's their fault. So I have 2 of these major companies now pointing the finger at one another, and neither one of them is going to assume blame on the fact that their latest firmware software update created the issue of them no longer being able to talk. However, they're posting it on there that they talk, and I can see it as kind of an anomaly if it was just one player, but it's 4. We have 4 Sonos ports and we have 4 Integras. Again, 1, I get it. 2, maybe, but 4? Come on. It's an issue. But these are the problems that we have in technology. Sometimes it just happens that these things don't want to play together, and it may be an anomaly. I can't even tell you the times and quantities of problems in the AVR world where we've come across a particular product and all of a sudden we get a bad batch and boom, everything's bad. Again, this is an anomaly, but it happens. It works. I mean, it's a problem. So, Sonos, going back to Sonos and why we use it a lot, is they've done a really, really good job of creating their own mesh network. So Sonos products will find themselves and then talk to themselves, which is really, really, really great thing. Now, here's what they don't tell you. Here's a problem that you could have that's going to kill your network at home. And this is why hardwiring is so much better. So if your network is on the wrong channel, like your router, and Sonos is on a particular channel, Sonos creates its own mesh network. Now, what is mesh network? It basically means it's creating its own little mini internet network, its own little Wi-Fi network. Okay, so it's simply saying it's a Wi-Fi network for only Sonos products. So it's Sonos going, ooh, here you are, I found you on my network. Ooh, here you are, I found you on my network. And then they all talk to each other. Great, very cool.